Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Galactic Nerd Outpost. I am your host, Gojin the Makai Phantom, and joining me is Erickzilla and soon JS Penna.
Yow.
And
It's
today
great to be here.
we're gonna take a look at the latest trailer to the upcoming Shin Ultraman from Hideaki Anno.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, something I noticed right off the bat. Everyone, didn't you notice that just like Shin Godzilla, there's also a lot of Showa-like noise with the destruction and such?
Oh yeah, that's something that Hideki Anno and the director they want. That's something that they're because obviously with them they grew up with the Showa era. They grew up with those type of shows, so obviously they wanted to implement a lot of that kind of aspects of the Showa sort of taste into their films. Like it's something that I'm pretty sure, like from what I remember, I think they've done that with Evangelion as well. Like they implemented those kind of sound effects. Yeah. So obviously with them, like it's always been sort of Showa, because Showa, because that's the thing with Showa, like Showa's with them, like and with some people, it's always been that one era where it was like just a fun time, not a lot of things made sense, but it was just like good old fashioned, goofy fun times, and obviously, with these type of sound effects, they obviously they want to add that into the film, and I personally, I use some of the sound effects occasionally, but they're really good. They're really good sound effects. So I don't blame them for using it, honestly.
Yeah, I've seen people complain about it in Shin Godzilla, but personally, just like in Shin Godzilla, I really like it. I honestly hope, just like with Shin Godzilla, we also get some of the tracks from the original Ultraman is thrown in, since like Shin Godzilla.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's funny that you mentioned that because I think because when Shin Godzilla's soundtracks were coming out and like some of the some of the tracks that they used, like from Invasion of Astro Monster, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, some of the tracks, if you look them up, some of them would say like, oh, like they were licensed or claimed by Shin Godzilla, like it's from the film. So I'm pretty sure, like, if you were to look up right now on the original soundtrack to Ultraman, I'm pretty sure it'll say Shin Ultraman underneath, like, licensed by, this film and this and that. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, most likely. And it would honestly be pretty cool if they do. Like,
oh yeah, it would, because it would be nice fan service. Because one of the things I liked about Shin Godzilla is you got a mix of new tracks, tracks from Evangelion and tracks from the Showa era of Godzilla, along some stuff from the Heisei era, and it looks like we're doing something like that here. And of course, this is also a reimagining of the original done for a modern audience, and we seem to be getting that political like touch thrown in there, which I like.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, but for me, I liked that about Shin Godzilla, and I think it's gonna work for Ultraman.
I mean, but then again, there's always been sort of like a political sort of thing with. I mean, there's always been sort of slight political things in Godzilla films already, but not too much to the point where it's like to your face, but like it's like kind of it's subtle.
Politics. Like when you look at GMK, there's actually a feminist message to GMK, and none of that fuck men radical shit, but there was a bit of a feminist theme there, but it was handled well to a point where it just didn't come off as crazy.
Yeah, like it's those kind of things that really just are settled and all this and that. It's not always up to your face.
Yeah, that's one of the things I liked about Japan over what Hollywood does with their political themes, because when you look at Hollywood, a lot of the times it's in your face, while Japan tends to be more subtle about it.
Yeah, like because obviously with Japan, like with most of their films, it's. Because this is the thing with films, it's not always got to be something to be about like the real world, because when we watch films, we watch them to escape the real world sometimes, and that's kind of that, and that applies to like gaming or anything like that, because like in these types of worlds, yeah. Oh, what were we saying?
That's why in my latest video I kind of talked about these one guys who are like why live action adaptations supposedly don't work. They're pretty much saying that live action stuff, everything needs to be realistic and
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
dude. It's like, dude, art in general, you're supposed to go into another world. Sometimes those realms we jump into are more realistic than others, but it's not an obligation for art to do.
Exactly. That is exactly.
Okay. Do you have anything to say, JSP, before we get back to the trailer?
Yeah, just so I'm clear, the monster that just roared was called Naranga, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, and he sounds like Varan or Varan, however the hell.
That's another thing too, is that, well, I mean, obviously, another thing that I want to bring up is that obviously this film is going to bring up a lot of new fans. I feel like this film itself is going to bring in a lot of new fans, and obviously some of those are going to be Godzilla fans, and they're going to have a lot of questions in regarding like, oh, that word sounds familiar. So obviously, like because here's the thing about like Super Raya, like way back when, is that Super Raya like had access to all these sound effects, including some of the suits. So he, like, if he wanted to, he could like literally just, borrow like the war, I'll take the Baragon suit and modify the head, and I'll take the Varan suit, the Varan war too. Yeah, and there we go. We got Naranga. And he does that a lot with a few of his monsters. So obviously nowadays it still sticks with them. Like the monsters themselves, they still stick with the roars. Nothing's changed. It's still the same roar and everything.
Yeah, like that. There's a lot of monsters with that roar. There's Abaras.
Actually, there's actually one monster. A fun fact. I posted this on my Instagram actually it was a long time ago, but it was of a monster from the original franchise of the Ultra franchise, the one that started it, Ultra Q. There's a monster there. I think it was called Gorgos or Gargon. I don't know. It started with a G. But this monster is basically a mountain monster in that episode. It's like a full-on rock monster. This monster, full-on, like no modifications, just straight up uses the original Godzilla War from the Showa era, and it mixes it with King Caesar and King Kong, and it's just a whole mixed patch. Like nothing's modified at all. Like it's just straight up the roar, and I'm just like, man, what? And like even like when I first noticed this, I'm like, yo, what? They can't do that. And like, can they do that? And so like then I obviously like over time learning about like how Super Raya owned and like can use these kind of sound effects and all that. I was like, oh well, yeah, sure. I guess if he wanted to, he could just add Godzilla's roar to any other monster, I guess, which he kind of does with Red King. But that was modified. Anyway,
because when it comes to Super Raya Productions, they always had, essentially they were kind of spawned from Toho in a way, because first Super Raya was essentially, he was a part of Toho for the longest time until he decided to pretty much go solo and made his own company. And even when he made his own company, those connections with Toho stuck. And they seem to still be around till this day, as when you look at one of the companies who has a big part in this film's existence, Toho is a massive part of it. So when it comes to Subaraya and Toho, they essentially go together because they're essentially, Subaraya is essentially the child of Toho.
Pretty much, exactly. Because that's pretty much what it all is. Like with Subaraya, like he worked at Toho, he wanted to branch out and sort of do his own thing, and obviously, look at where his legacy is now. So it's pretty cool.
And it's respectful. It's actually highly commendable that he was able to take the vision he brought to movies and bring it on television, because nobody else done that. Shit, I think
that's the thing too. He was the first one to popularize like the television, because back in the day, everything was all films in Japan. Like there wasn't really much on TV. So Ultraman was the one. Pretty much, Ultraman was the first for everything. He was the first character to start up Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, all these different other franchises. It all started from Ultraman and TV itself.
He started the Henshin Hero series.
Exactly.
Like, and it's funny when you look at it, because when you look at stuff like Kamen Rider, Garo, Super Sentai, and all that stuff, you wouldn't think that this was a genre that had any connection to Kaiju Ega. But how the Henshin hero genre started was Kaiju Ega. It's overall very interesting.
Indeed.
Shit, even when you look at Attack on Titan even has inspiration from Ultraman, because, like, I'm not sure if you guys saw my latest video, but essentially, like, how the special Titans interact, have this telepathic way of talking in Titan form is similar to how Ultraman can talk to the other Sajin. You have a person that's able to transform into a giant humanoid hero to battle Kaiju, amongst other things. It's a very impactful thing, and I'll be honest, I like it better than the majority of Marvel.
We both agree on that. Honestly, like with Marvel's, what they're doing right now, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a whole different nitpick, though.
Yeah, most definitely.
来訪の目的は何だ。体験外より開きの正体あり。
Oh, Zada. Man, I'm gonna say, I play Zada never looked better.
気象台がビルに墜落した模様。いえ、工作です。対象物が動いています。あれがウルトラマン。
God. Oh.
Yeah, my God.
Oh my God. Oh. That scene. Oh my God.
バディは相棒と理解している。
And that beam, the way he shot it, it's very much similar. I like how Ano does the beam. He does a classical style with the sound design, but he brings a whole new power to it.
私と一緒にこの星のために働きませんか。
あなたは外星人なの？それとも人間なの？
Oh my God. Yeah, one thing I want to point out about that beam effect, it looks like it has a similar ass thing to what Shin Godzilla had when he shot his atomic beam. You have a combination of that old sound design along with this very, very long beam that goes far away and causes massive destruction. I like that. Ultraman, his beam has never been better. I'm gonna say that right now.
Honestly, this whole scene right here, the sequence where he's firing the beam at the pile of dirt right there, which I'm guessing he's trying to attract Gabora right there, because Gabora is a subterranean monster. He can dig and burrow around areas, so I'm guessing that's why he's doing that. But you know, that whole scene right there was just so I don't know how to explain it. I really love that scene. And another shot from the trailer right there was Ultraman flying.
Exactly.
The way it was shot, the way it moves, the way the camera like subtly like moves slightly, you know, it looks like something from the Showa era. Like it straight up pays homage to the way the camera movement goes, and the way like Shin Ultraman right there straight up looked like a puppet. Like he straight up looked like the puppets like they use in like the 1966 Ultraman. Like, you know, for them to fly. Like, I love that. Like, it's so like a lot of fan service here with this whole film right now. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, Ano definitely. I always knew Ano was a massive fan of Ultraman, but man, it really shows here as how he's reimagining the original show into a whole new movie, and you can just tell by all the homages with not just the sound design and everything else. It's just entirely a love letter to it. And I'm going to be honest, like, this is, from the look of Naranga, this might be my favorite Naranga incarnation. He just looks completely modernized and just very awesome, I think. And Zada...
Naranga really is in a really, like, honestly, like, I actually happen to have the figure here right now just so I could get a good look at it. Like, the figure, like, I mean, the figure itself doesn't do it justice, but the way like Naranga looks in the film, you know, it's really just improved a lot. Like, it's straight up. And another thing too that I love that that the director did is that he took the design, like the model of Naranga, and basically copied and pasted for Gabora, which is something that was in the original Ultraman to begin with. Because like we discussed earlier, Super Raya tends to reuse the Baragon suit for a few of his monsters. He used it for Pagos, he used it for Magular, another Ultraman monster. And of course, with these two monsters that'll be featuring in this film, Gabora and Naranga, he basically copied and pasted the both of the arms, legs, the body, but just slightly modified the Gabora model itself to make it like look like Gabora. So it's really just really impressive right there that he did that.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out is Zadab actually, maybe it's weird. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but the way Zadab looks, he looks low-key creepy, and I completely love it. Like, this is a whole new take on Zadab that just takes that somewhat, for lack of a better word, cheesy design that we're used to from the original series and modernized it to look even more alien. And I like what that direction Anno is taking.
Indeed.
Because he's taking these older designs of the Sajin, and making them look more alien than they did before. Something that a modern movie can accomplish. And it's just really good. I wonder what they're gonna do with it, to be honest.
Honestly, like another thing too. Speaking of Zerub's design, is that Zerub Station's design is basically and it was something that I've noticed that was being passed around in Japanese Twitter, was that everyone started saying how the director used the scrapped concept of the Zerub design and basically reused it for this film. Because the original Zerub design, like, it looks like the one that we see in this film, but it's just like, he doesn't have the red ears, he doesn't have the blue glowing effect on his that makes him speak. And his body in the film, the body is all like dark navy blue kind of color, like a dark grayish color, while the one in the TV show, the one in the OG, it has a more brownish, like everything on his body is brown, like everything right there. And it's really just amazing how like he altered, like he took a scrapped design and basically like modified it. It's like, all right, here we go. Like we can't have this scrapped idea go to waste. So here's a new Zerub that I basically just took from the scrapped designs, and it's just oh man.
I'm a fan of that too. I honestly wish that more films would do that. Like, there are so many scrap designs of stuff that's like, I'm glad they chose the design they did, but I would like to see this used, like Godzilla 2000's design and Godzilla 2000 Millennium. I'm glad they chose the design they did, but I would love to see that design used at some point. And it's nice.
Yeah.
Wait, the Godzilla 2000 or the original 2004 design?
2000. 2004, same with 2004. Like 2004, I'm glad they went with the design they did, but there was that concept was really cool, and I would love to see it put to screen at some point in the future. Like shit, even in a video game, that would be nice. I just would
there's actually speaking of that, not to go off too much of a tangent, but there was a trend going on Japanese Twitter with the scrapped design of the Godzilla Final Wars, and like everyone was just like saying like, oh, like this design's really cool. Like I don't know why they got rid of this design. It's so badass and this and that. And it was just like, yeah, like I agree. Like the way this design really does look cool. But like obviously they obviously, like with the director, he didn't want to go too out there with the design, so he decided to alter it down and basically we just got a slim Godzilla who could jump around and
which I'm glad they
a lot of things.
Yeah, which I'm glad they went with what they did, but it would be nice if they would use those concept designs in the future, because I like what Anno's doing here with Zada by not letting something go to waste, and I think that should be used more often. Like, instead of scrapping these concept designs that look really fucking cool, they need to start using them. They need to start just putting them away for later, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so in the chat, Mad Matt, the heavy metal mecha pilot, said, majorly huge Ultraman fan right here, my dude. Same here. I've been a huge fan of Ultraman for years. Of course, what got me into the Kaiju and Tokusatsu thing was Godzilla, but then as I got a hold of the internet, I started to find out about Ultraman and got curious about it, and eventually it became one of my favorite franchises. And as time went on, I also checked out Kamen Rider.
Did you used to did you found the videos online from TokyoMonsters.com?
I'll give a bit of a story time here. Essentially how I found Ultraman. You guys remember that site Monster Valley Toys and stuff like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I used to go on that site all the fucking time to look at the action figures, and I saw there was stuff of Ultraman on there, and I was like, hey, this looks interesting, and then eventually I looked up, and then I found some episodes on YouTube, gave them a watch. I think one of my first may have been Tiga, one of them, along with Mibius and some others. Can't remember my exact first, but then I just started to watch more and more. And now I haven't seen every Ultra show, but I've seen most, and I plan to watch them all at some point. Shit, I plan to own them all.
Oh yeah.
And that's how I got, and that's essentially how I became a fan of Ultraman. Essentially, I also came across Kamen Rider at that point, and I was just a kid. I was wanting to see big monsters, so I was like, maybe this isn't for me. But now, as I gotten older, I became a massive fan of Kamen Rider as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Matt, the heavy metal guy, said, come to think of it, they're the reason why Evangelion is one of my favorite animes, especially for the shoutouts to Ultraman from Anno. Well, yeah, Evangelion was essentially a love... how Star Wars is pretty much a bunch of nerds, a bunch of stuff that Lucas loved combined into one nerdy film. Evangelion is essentially that for Anno. There's Godzilla, Ultraman, Space Runaway Ideon, Gundam, Get a Robo, a bunch of all that shit put into one. But though I'd say Ultraman is definitely the one that shows the most in Evangelion.
Yes. This is very much obvious with that.
Yep, but now back to the trailer. Oh boy. That looks awesome.
Oh my god. Man.
Oh man, I can't wait to see this fucking movie. Like,
I think I
May
might give this one
13th.
a watch.
Indeed,
I said I think I might give this one a watch.
yeah,
I mean,
definitely. It looks fucking awesome. Like,
I
I'm
mean,
probably gonna review some Ultra stuff before it comes out to kind of build off the hype. But man, it looks so fucking good.
Oh yeah.
It takes everything from the original show and just modernize it. Like, here's one of the things I like that Anno's doing. He's not just doing remakes of these original entries. He's doing reimaginings of them. That's what Shin Godzilla was. That's what Shin Ultraman is. And that's what the Shin Kamen Rider is looking to be. And I'm liking that. It's unique.
Indeed.
But overall, I think it looks incredible. The soundtrack also is pretty nice. It has this nice upbeat tone to kind of work off the heroic feel of the hero, which kind of works for Ultraman because Ultraman usually has stuff like that. I hope that's in the movie, to be honest. I wonder if it's going to be working up to a TV show or something like the next did.
There's been things coming out on I think it was on the official Twitter account for Shin Ultraman. And there's gonna be something called Shin Ultra Fight, and it's basically a copy, or not like a copy, but like an homage to the old show called Ultra Fight, which is basically just a bunch of different monsters from Ultra 7 and Ultraman, and they all just basically fight. Like, there's not really much of a story. I mean, there is kind of a story, but like at the same time, it's like not really something you watch Ultra Fight for. You watch it just for the monsters to just duke it out and fight. And so there's been stuff like that coming out, right, on the official Twitter account. And so like I'm pretty sure, like I don't know if it's gonna be for the film or if they're gonna like sort of do their own thing and sort of have other monsters come in. But as far as I know, there hasn't really been other information as of right now.
Sounds cool, but personally, I wouldn't be surprised if they build up to a TV show or something because there's an Ultra show every year, and this if this is the success that Shin Godzilla was, because to those who don't know, Shin Godzilla took fucking Japan by storm. It is a massive box office hit.
It is still popular to this day. People still like talk about it over there in Japan, bro. Like that's just how how big it was. It was really just a popular film at the time, and even to this day.
It actually took the Heisei Godzilla's place as the face of Toho, and Heisei Godzilla is still a fan favorite over there, but Shin Godzilla is now the face of Godzilla because people loved it so much, but that's because they took the classic and kind of brought it to a modern audience, and that's what they're doing here. And I really like that in the next, so I'm hoping this, and from what I can tell, does something that just really puts that concept to justice. And I think Anno would, because he is very passionate about the series, and there's just a lot of hope in what can be brought.
Mhm.
Man, Matt, the heavy metal guy said, need to mention Shin Godzilla is my favorite Godzilla film. It's a great choice. It's a great choice indeed. I don't have a favorite Godzilla film in particular, but it's definitely a great one.
For me, it would be Godzilla Final Wars. Just
that is a great
that. That is just my number one. Obviously amongst the Godzilla community, not everyone likes the movie because there's a bunch of what was that one film they reference a lot of Matrix, yeah, Matrix moves, and it's just I could see why, but it's at the same time, at the time I was in the mindset of just you know what, I want to watch some monsters fight. So Godzilla Final Wars was the one that really pretty much introduced me to that, because back before I was into Godzilla and all that, I was just Jurassic Park and everything like that.
Yeah.
And so discovering Godzilla Final Wars happened to be the very first film that got me into Godzilla. So if it wasn't for Final Wars, I don't know, I'd probably be doing JP videos or something.
Yeah,
but
I love Final Wars as well. Final Wars is a film, I've seen very mixed opinions on Final Wars. I've seen people say it's one of the best. I've seen people say it's one of the worst. Me, I'm of the side that fucking loves the movie. It's just balls to the wall is fun, and the story, it's simplistic, but that's why the story is so good. It's a love letter to the original series, but it's so fun. It brings context to everything, and the characters are all likable and have great personalities. It's not complex, but I don't think everything needs to be complex to be good. I've seen, I've never watched the Animaniacs, but I've seen people call that one of the best shows ever made, and I doubt that's anything complex. So for me, complexity doesn't make something good or bad. It's more of how the vision is executed. If someone's going for simplicity, if that simplicity is good, then okay. Ultraman Tiga, that's one of the best Ultra shows in my opinion, but it's not one of the most complex ones.
Indeed.
But another thing I think that this has potential of, I'm not sure if any of you saw my Shin universe video. I essentially have theories on what this could lead to. I could very much be wrong, but looking at all the stuff, look at these are all reimaginings of the first entry. You have that one thing in the Evangelion movies that was a literal drawback to that one universe Yapu was in. And there's a bunch of other things I mentioned in that video, but I still think there's a possibility that this is building up to a universe, especially when you look at the fact they call it the Shin Japan Heroes universe. They already compared that universe they brought up a couple of years ago. Oh, yeah. They already
I don't think, and yeah. But there's been a lot of people saying that, they're gonna make there's been news outlets saying they're gonna make a universe, the Monsterverse and this and that. But in actuality, it's actually more of just a regular promotion sort of thing for both the films, because obviously the directors directed both films, so obviously they wanted to sort of do some promoting with that. It's not actually gonna be a universe, we're not gonna have Shin Ultraman versus Shin Godzilla here, but it's just more of that's just a fun little promotion that they wanted to do. It doesn't mean that they're actually going to cross paths.
Oh, that's definitely true. I'm just saying I can see why some people might be coming up with theories about it, especially since Toho already brought up a universe a couple times and compared it to MCU, and then you have this in Japan Heroes universe, almost like they're responding to Marvel by going that, hey, these are Japan's heroes.
But then again, they kind of did their own universe with, or actually they attempted it for Godzilla. It started with Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and then it continued from Tokyo SOS. So in a way, they were kind of doing that little concept like that.
Yeah, Toho's been doing this since the Showa era. It's Godzilla, aside from Universal, they're one of the first companies to have kind of done this whole thing. The MCU is not the first thing that did it.
Indeed. Or actually, I think as far as my knowledge goes, the first to ever establish a universe was the original Universal monsters, Frankenstein, Dracula, and the Mummy. they all came in their own separate films, and like just like the MCU, and then they all like joined forces, like they joined in one film. Like obviously one such popular example is Frankenstein versus the Wolfman.
Yeah.
And so like obviously like they were the first to really create the whole universe that they established. And so like obviously like and then they tried to attempt it again, like Universal tried to attempt the thing called, they called it, I think, the monster universe, or the dark verse.
Yeah,
and
Dark
the what?
The Dark Universe.
I thought it was dark verse because I don't know, I recalled it like that, but yeah, basically that. And so they started with the Mummy, and obviously the Mummy didn't really turn out well financially.
Yeah.
It didn't really go well. So obviously they kind of sweep that under rug, like, okay, this one didn't really do too well. So let's forget about that film and maybe start another one. And so obviously they did one with the Invisible Man. And that one, I don't remember. Did that even did well? The Invisible Man?
I don't know.
I think it did. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like when I saw the Mummy, I was just like, nah, man, I don't like it. Like it was cool that they brought in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but like it just didn't really. I don't know. I didn't. No. I was not invested with the verse that they were going with. So it was pretty sad. It was pretty sad to see the one that started the whole trend of. It wasn't even a trend. It was more of just like a new idea. Like they started the idea of combining all these monsters into one world, and it's sad to see how they attempted to do that and then fail miserably.
Yeah,
because
that movie fucking sucked.
Indeed, I did not like the movie.
It could have been way better.
Honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Like I remember when it was coming out. Even when I saw trailers of the movie, I was like, "This is gonna be dog shit," and I was right.
Yeah, everyone just didn't like it, man. It was just kind of it was really just. Well, actually, I wouldn't say it was a mixed bag. Everyone just didn't like it, man. Like, it was just not really a good film.
Anyway, unless you guys have any more to say about Shin Ultraman, I think it'll be perfect to conclude the podcast episode. What do you guys say?
It's up to you, really, man. Like, you're the boss of the operation.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, do you guys have anything else more to say?
Oh, I'm not. Oh, actually, I want to bring up some theories. Like I did this in my podcast, but I wanted to bring it up here, in that like I had a few theories in regards to the film itself, of like, because when this whole thing was going out, like when the first trailer came out, like it was just a regular trailer showing Shin Ultraman and the other monsters, and like it was before Zerb appearing. So I had this theory in which knowing how the director like works, knowing how he likes to reuse a lot of scrapped ideas or scrapped designs, I had a theory that Bolton may be involved in the film, because there was this one scrapped episode of where it featured Ultraman and a early version of Naranga. You may have, I don't know if you guys have seen this image before, but like it has Ultraman, the type A Ultraman suit, fighting a brown Naranga without its antennas, and then you see alien Bolton in the background. And so I had a theory that maybe Bolton, because in the scrapped episode, the scrapped idea, Bolton was controlling Naranga, and he would send out Naranga to go fight off Ultraman, and then eventually, when Naranga gets defeated, Bolton would appear and fight him off himself, and then ultimately Ultraman would win. And so I was theorizing that maybe Bolton might be involved, because it showed Naranga and Gabora, and so I was assuming like maybe Bolton might be involved in this. Like he might be controlling these monsters, sending them out to get Ultraman, this and that. And so like I was thinking that, but then Zerub came out of nowhere, Mephiles came out of nowhere, and so then I had a new theory all entirely. This was of another scrapped idea, which seemed like, from what I've read from the scrapped ideas. Like I got usually all this from the website Ultra Wiki, which is where they keep all the archive all the information of scrapped ideas and scrapped designs of Ultra monsters. And so I was looking through it and I found this one that honestly made a whole lot of sense, and it linked everything in some weird way. But like basically the scrapped idea was it was going to have Alien Mephiles teaming up with Alien Zerub, Alien Bolton, and another Kaijin entity known as Kamerman. And it was going to feature them controlling two monsters in particular called Zeton and Saigo, which are the monsters that appeared in the original Ultraman, and that they would send them out to go and attack and defeat Ultraman. And so I made a theory that maybe they're only showing just some of the aliens, like maybe just Alien Mephiles and Alien Zerb is enough, you know. But I was over here theorizing that maybe perhaps Bolton and Kamer might appear in some shape or form. And so obviously, like obviously with Zeton and Saigo, I was theorizing that maybe they were replaced with with Gobora and Naranga. So I was like theorizing that, like thinking like maybe this might be what they were trying to do, or they might just have Zeton and Saigo in the film as well, because Zeton was the monster, the final monster that defeated Ultraman in the final episode of the original series. So I was thinking like maybe they might feature Zeton. But as far as I know, it seems like it was only going to be Naranga and Gobora, because from what the toy leaks came to be, there were toy leaks that featured Monster A, Monster B, which ended up being Gobora and Naranga. But there was also Alien A, Alien B, Alien C, and so I was assuming that maybe we might have another alien or another monster entirely. But obviously those obviously with the other toys, they were the other Shin Ultraman figures and this and that. So right now I'm still holding on to that theory where like they might feature all four of those aliens from that one episode from the original Ultraman. And so like I don't know, I'm basically thinking that this may happen or it may not happen. But from what we are seeing right now, where it has Zerub, it has Alien Mephiles, I don't know. It could occur or it could not happen. So that was pretty much what I was theorizing right there.
To be honest, I completely agree with you, because when you look at a lot of this, like this is a reimagining movie of the original Ultraman, so kind of in bringing in stuff like that would make a lot of sense, especially bringing in Zeton as the final, like the main threat, which I kind of do expect that, because he defeated Ultraman, so he's kind of a big deal. So if they kind of put him at the end, it would make a lot of sense.
It would.
Wait, hold up. I didn't see Mephiles.
He's not.
Oh, Mephiles. Okay, Alien Mephiles isn't physically there. Well, and so he kind of is, but he's in a human disguise form. He's in a human disguise form. He's in disguise. He's the person that gave the character that turns into Shin Ultraman the card, and it says right there Mephiles, but it's in Japanese.
Yeah, he was also the one that was on that swing set with the guy who's Ultraman in it.
I see.
Yes. And honestly, and another thing too, is that Mephiles is actually a very, like, when it comes down to it, like in the Ultraman, in the Ultra fandom, in the Ultraman community, Alien Mephiles is regarded as one of the many few popular in the fandom. Because like in the episode, because literally the alien, like when in the subtitle of the episode, because each monster has a subtitle as like ancient monster or skull monster. His is literally the malicious alien. So he's pretty much a big deal in the Ultra community. Like he's really like he's more than that, but at the same time, when you watch his episode, you'll see why, like just how like crazy Alien Mephiles is, like. Because you end up finding out that Ultraman and Alien Mephiles actually do have a backstory. They both have history with one another. Like they've both met like trillions light years of like just so many encounters with one another. So like, you know, it's just really like crazy to see Alien Mephiles, and yeah.
I'm also expecting it to kind of have a tie-in to the original universe in some way, because, yeah, it's a reimagining, but the next was also a reimagining of the original Ultraman, and it found its way into the original universe, so I'm kind of expecting that. Like, shit, maybe it might even pull a Ultra 7X thing, where that is the original Ultraman that pretty much just goes to this realm and kind of... like maybe that realm is in jeopardy or something, and he goes to that realm to kind of fuse with the lead character there to kind of defend it. That's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting that to be technically the original Ultraman himself. I'm not referring to Shin Hayata. I'm referring to Ultraman.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm expecting. The movie looks freaking awesome. The way it's marketed, and if it's like Shin Godzilla, it has a lot of fucking potential. It looks really fucking good. And
it does. It's gonna be a promising. Like I said earlier, this film is gonna garner a lot of new fans. Like it will. It will. It's gonna have a lot of people, and that's the one thing, you know. Like I am always like as a Ultra fan as well as like a Godzilla fan, and I guess it could also be like implied for Godzilla fans also. Like we're always welcome for newcomers, you know. Like we're always welcoming with that. So like I'm pretty sure with Shin Ultraman is gonna garner new fans, and it's gonna get them into the show as well.
Well, yeah, because you're going to have a lot of people that are like, hey, I love Shin Godzilla. Let me come and check this out. And they're going to be checking it out. And if they like it, they're going to start watching other Ultra stuff. I think that's another reason you're getting this quote-unquote Shin Heroes universe thing. It's kind of, you saw that Shin Godzilla was a success, and they're giving other things the Shin treatment to kind of bring that success to those franchises, to kind of get people to go and check those out.
Yeah.
Because Shin Godzilla, with the huge success that Shin Godzilla was, it's definitely easy to understand why other companies are going to want a taste of that. And more people that are going to be wanting to see Shin Godzilla, that like Shin Godzilla, are going to check them out. Like, I've seen people who haven't even watched any Ultra Show or Kamen Rider that are interested in these entries because they loved Shin Godzilla.
Yes, indeed.
It's actually a very smart business move when you think about it.
It is, yeah.
But that being said, we're going to conclude this episode. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed looking at the trailer with you guys. Thank you for coming on, Erickzilla99 and JS Penna.
No problem.
That being said, what, JS?
I forgot to say, what was I gonna say? I'll probably check this movie out. I'm not a huge fan of Ultraman. I only know some things that, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's part of an alien race, and their son died out, and they made their own son, and somehow the energy from this new sun transformed them, and then it created the monsters. I need to watch the video.
I think I know what you're describing. It's I think they explored that whole concept in Ultra Galaxy Legends, I believe.
All right.
Yeah.
In that film, yeah.
That film was incredible, by the way.
It is. Right. I love that film.
I think it also introduced my favorite Ultraman, being Belial.
Oh, Belial, man. Belial was like, well, he wasn't the first evil Ultra, but he was the one that popularized it. He's basically the face of it.
Well, yeah, because he's literally Satan. Like, for those who don't know, Belial or Belial, depending how you pronounce the name, is actually another culture's name for Satan. I forgot the culture it was, but that's why they called him Ultraman Belial, and they kind of based him off of the lore too. As for example,
his story has a lot of like meaning to like the origins of Lucifer and all that. Like
exactly, like
it is interesting.
Light, and then he fell into darkness, and that's one of the reasons I love him so much. He's the very definition of evil, and it's what makes him so cool and threatening.
Yeah.
But Please comment your thoughts down below, and if you enjoyed it, smash that like button, share it around, and subscribe. Also, check out my boy Erickzilla99. He makes some really good content, and links to his channel, along with my social media accounts, Discord server, and alt tech is in the description down below. And also, go and check out JS channel, even though he hasn't uploaded in a while. This is Gojin the Makai Phantom, leaving the building.
Bye.
See ya, yo.